Hello, everybody. Hi. So we're going to start in the next 5. Hi, guys. So we're going to start in the next 5 minutes, right? So, yeah. Continue networking, have fun.
Eh? Umefanya udo? Kiasi.
Hello, everybody. Once again, welcome to Usiku Game. All right, so hi. Oh my goodness, you guys, where's the energy? So welcome once again to Usiku Game Hub, and where we'll all talk about the blockchain gaming in Africa. And first and foremost, let me thank Jay for this hosting. Usiku Game Hub is going to come in a few. And another big shout out is to Harmony, Polygon, Enjinstarter, and Usiku Games for having this beautiful session. And I'm really hoping that we're going to have an interactive session. So be free, ask questions, do not be afraid. And also, let me welcome our live, we have other live audiences, all the way from Tunisia. We have Cote d'Ivoire, Algeria, Morocco, Rwanda, the USA as well. So welcome so much. Karibu Kenya, virtually. So yeah, also, I would really want to put this emphasis on, it's blockchain gaming. And I really hope that women, I can see we have the females here. Woo! So yeah, women, please, we have more trainings. We have a training, and we really want you guys to, come, get to know. Let us beat these men. There are very many, everywhere. So, in this blockchain gaming, also let us women be like, you know what? Yay, we're also going to be there, right? So we have a training coming up. We'll let you know when in our spaces. I don't want to take so long, so allow me to introduce Jay from Usiku. Can I get a alilililili?
Hey everybody, welcome. So I'm Jay from Usiku Games. Welcome to the Nairobi Game Development Center for those who are here in person, to the audiences that we have with Digital Mania in Tunisia. We have Paradise Games in Cote d'Ivoire. We have Ledi Arts in Ghana. We have Kiru Games in Cameroon. And of course here in the house we have Weza, who's here, one of our classics. We have Kunta Content here, and of course Usiku Games. So it's great to bring the whole industry together. Thank you everybody for joining. It is a really exciting time for game development in Africa, as all of you will attest because you're here. We had a blockchain, Women in Blockchain event here last Friday. This is our second event in a week, with 150 women engineers here last week. It's pretty amazing to see the interest and excitement that there is, and in particular around making a social impact. And how do we use in Africa blockchain, and particularly blockchain gaming, to make a difference in our community? And I'm so glad to see so many of you out here tonight to try and learn about this and figure out how we can do that. And we're going to talk about some really cool projects tonight that are happening actually now here in Africa, to hopefully give some inspiration, some lessons, some advice. And so we're going to start off with one of our great sponsors tonight. Stephen from Polygon is going to give us a talk a little bit about Polygon. And then we're going to go and talk about some of the other great companies who are making tonight happen. So thank you everybody for joining, and I will see you in a few minutes.
Hi everyone, Stephen here from Polygon. So I'm from Polygon Studios. I head up the business development team all around the NFT and gaming space. It's really a super vibrant community at the moment. It's very large with a lot happening all the way from indies, studios, AA's and AAA's. So at Polygon Studios, what we can do is provide full level of support to games companies wanting to build on Polygon. And we can offer that through a range of services, whether it's tech integration support, marketing development support, and also potential for investment, and then co-investment with a lot of VCs that like to follow in with us. So that's the key areas there. What we like to look at on why Polygon is the right choice potentially for your teams to build on in your Web3 gaming is it's a lot around the ecosystem that we provide. And that's mainly because we are connected to Ethereum. Ethereum being the first smart contracting platform, has the largest developer base, the most games and products built on it. And Polygon is purely designed in order to scale Ethereum. We can do that for a number of ways. The first is for our POS solution. That's in order to build via proof of staking. And that's with bridges back into Ethereum. And how that works is you can then use the POS chain, which is a commit chain for Ethereum, and it allows you to have full EVM capabilities with your games, but at a fraction of the price. So the current transaction is around 0.001 of a cent. Minting is a similar price for your NFTs. So all this gives you a lot of availability to be able to do high throughput, high transactions with gaming at a very low cost, which is really important for games, because if you're having a lot of on-chain data or transactions, then being able to put that on, if that was, for instance, on Ethereum, it would make the game uneconomical to play. So that's around the throughput advantage. Also on the developers front, we're seeing much more of the advantages, again, with having Ethereum out for so long. There's much more tooling and capabilities in order to build your games on top of. So whether that's wallet support, minting support, infrastructure around the use of, say, OpenSea and other exchanges out there. We're also seeing that through the metaverse, the ecosystem, the majority of the large metaverses like Decentraland, Sandbox, Sonum Space, are now all being built on Polygon. So what we see in games in the future is that these NFTs will be available to play in your games, but we also hope that the future is interoperable within other games, with other metaverses. So then it becomes important that you're building your games and NFT platforms on an ecosystem that has a lot of open uses and a lot of opportunity to collaborate with other partners in the space. We've had a lot of success recently in games moving over. We've also seen that through the enterprise solution now, we're having a lot of high quality projects, whether that's Ticketmaster building on Polygon, to a lot of the NFTs from celebrities like Messi, footballers, and so on. Some of the ways where we would like to further support games is through partnership opportunities, to partner up with a lot of other games and metaverses within the ecosystem. On the marketing side, we've got a full in-house marketing team where they can work with you to co-develop your marketing campaigns that you're looking to launch on Polygon. And on top of that, there's also potential investments or grants that we can do when you're looking to create and build your games. If you need any tech implementation or integration support, we can introduce you to our tech integrations team. They can troubleshoot any of the potential issues you're having with building or integrating with Polygon. So we've tried to provide a full solution to make it much easier for games to get developed on Polygon. Is there any, I'm not sure, would you like to do any Q&A during this session, or is there any particular sort of games or areas within gaming anyone would like to know more about? No comment so far. I think it's muted. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, Stephen, I'm not hearing anything. It's muted on their end. I have a question online from Tessa. This says, how can someone reach out about partnership for building on Polygon?
Sure. So you can email info@Polygon Studios, or you can also email me directly, which is Steven, STEVEN, @polygon.technology. And then happy to review and look at any of your games and being able to then pass them on to the right people at Polygon to help further that.
Hello, hi Steven.
Hello.
Thank you for the presentation. I've learned a lot. I wanted to ask, Web3 is slowly growing here in Africa, and might you have any advice you would tell to an African Web2 gaming developer to get him interested in the Web3 game development?
The audio is quite bad. I'm not sure if anyone on the panel could hear that further and provide clarity.
Can you hear me all right, Steven?
Yeah, that's coming through a bit better.
She was asking for advice for a Web2 game developer in Africa. What advice you might give for how they should get into Web3 and start running that?
Changing over from Web 2 to Web 3.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing now is to make sure that you first have to build a strong economic tokenomic model in order to get a lot of users interested in playing the game. So that's around how you can offer parts of your token supply of a play-to-earn economy. And then also through that, it can have the attraction of guilds to start buying your assets in-game and farming to be able to create a long-term economy within the game. We have a lot of tech documentation on our website about implementing Polygon into your games. So I think I can also, if you wanted to email, we can also provide you with that further documentation to help implement Web3 opportunities, building out NFTs, building out your token economics into your games. But there is a lot of that documentation is straight on our website on how to implement our tech products into your games.
That's awesome. Thanks, Steven. Tim, do you want to go to another question?
Yeah, Jay. Steven, I have a question. Victory Scout Gaming Guild. We have scholars from Tanzania playing Axie, and we'll also be looking at Pagaxi on Polygon. What do you see as the biggest challenge going forward as more games jump onto Polygon and the sector grows?
Not really so much challenges. We're seeing that for us, more and more adoption is a strong incentive model within the guilds. For the games, we see that at the moment, there's only so many high quality games that people are playing. So they will become much more competitive in the space. So for instance, things like Axie or Pegasi, there's probably only 50 good games now where you can have a strong economy and build out a play-to-earn economy where you can actually farm enough money to make it worthwhile. But over more and more time, there will be lots more games out of there. So then it will be hard to incentivize the right players to join your game. And what's that's going to come down to is it won't be so much just reliant on how much, dollars per hour you can make out of these games. It's then going to come down to how fun is your game to actually play. What's the the enjoyment levels of actually playing the game.
And hasn't that always been the challenge?
Well,
all right, go ahead.
I was just saying, you could say it's always been the challenge, but then, things like Axie have, millions of users, same as Pegasi. It's because there's not much challenge out there of high quality fun games yet. But we're seeing more and more in the market that are now going to be coming out that are built by high quality game developers that are going to be a lot of fun to play, and you can still earn, dollar per hour playing these games.
Absolutely. I think it's a great mission we should all strive for. So we have another question here in Nairobi from Kevin.
Hi, Stephen. Can you hear me?
Yep, coming through.
All right. Beyond scaling Ethereum on Polygon, does Polygon have cross-chain capabilities?
So through some partners like Stardust and soon to be, I think Forte is looking at building out their tech middle layer to be able to help the cross-chain capabilities. And being EVM compatible means that to a degree, we are cross-chain and available via bridging to most of the EVM chains. Or we're seeing a lot of people, for certain reasons, sometimes drop their NFTs or tokens on a number of different chains at once that are all EVM compatible. So there is more and more being built out on that level. And then for ourselves, we're also building out ZK solutions. We spent a lot of money acquiring ZKs, which are the next layer of scaling from our POS system. And then we also have an SDK, which is where you can spawn your own sidechain on Polygon. And what this effectively means is you can have a sidechain, run your own games on that, and then bridge your assets back into the main net as required. So it means you can have even lower, virtually free transaction costs and much higher speeds, faster than any decentralized blockchain out there at the moment. So that's on the Polygon SDK, and that's in beta now and available for use.
So for those of you who understood that, it's super cool. And for those of you who didn't, stick around. We're going to talk more about some of those terms. So I know Stephen only has a few minutes left. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. Do we have any? You want to go to a last question, Tim, from the chat room, or any of the other countries want to come forward?
I don't see any questions right now. We've got a lot of people in here from Tunisia, Nigeria, across Kenya. Any other questions from the online audience?
Hi guys, we have one more question this side from Nairobi.
Right.
I had a follow-up question to my question. Have you seen a tokenomic structure that is sustainable, and maybe you could recommend, because tokenomics is very important and it's something many projects struggle with. Have you seen a tokenomic structure that you would recommend that is sustainable and rewarding?
Sure. I think for the tokenomic structure that's sustainable is, again, around building a game that has real use case, real players that are then going to buy those assets in order to enjoy the game and use it, rather than just having a game and tokenomics that are all built around farming more assets that you can sell to other farmers. It needs to be that you're grinding assets in the game that you're going to sell to other players, and they're buying them to actually play and enjoy the game. I think that's more of the long-term aspect that we're aiming for, that game developers are looking to do. I think that's me. So thanks everyone for your time. Please feel free to reach out if you want to discuss any of your games, and we're happy to help.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for supporting the community, for coming out and speaking to us. And of course, thank you, Polygon, for sponsoring tonight and making this possible. So great to have you here with us, Stephen. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Bye-bye. So big hand for Stephen. Thank you. So I now want to go to one of our co-hosts, introduce Ed for a moment, who's the head of the Harmony Africa DAO, who also is a big sponsor for tonight and making this possible. So I'm going to hand over to Ed for a minute.
Alors moi, je vais simplement dire quelques mots en français pour notre audience online. Ça nous fait grand plaisir que vous soyez tous avec nous. Moi, je vous recommande tous de faire le saut de Web 2 à Web 3. C'est une révolution qui est en train d'exister. C'est une opportunité qui existe pour nous tous parce que les choses vont dans cette direction. Je sais que c'est un changement un peu compliqué à faire quand on apprend de passer à Solidity, etc. Mais si vous commencez à voir cette évolution, elle est absolument extraordinaire et sans aucun doute, l'Afrique peut lidérer ce grand changement. Aussi, je vous invite à tenir en compte que les jeux online peuvent avoir une capacité sociale extraordinaire. C'est-à-dire, il faut aussi penser à tout l'impact social que peuvent avoir ces jeux. Il faut qu'on commence à voir des femmes qui développent des projets. Il faut qu'on y participe tous, et je vous recommande tous à faire ce grand saut. À nouveau, je voudrais remercier tous nos partenaires qui sont avec nous, Harmony, Polygon, Usiku et Enjinstarter. C'est un grand plaisir de vous avoir, et je suis sûr que dans un futur très proche, nous allons avoir une quantité de développeurs qui vont grandir dans toute l'Afrique, et c'est vraiment notre objectif. Merci à tout le monde.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ed. And of course, for those of you who are here and don't speak French, the reason why we're doing this is because we do have a large Francophone audience with us tonight, game developers from across the continent. Just as a reminder, we have Tunisia, we have Cameroon, we have Cote d'Ivoire. I think we have some people from Nigeria here tonight. We have Ghana, and of course, wonderful Kenya. So thank you everybody for tuning in, for coming and hopefully learning this evening. I want to go to our next guest tonight who's coming all the way from Singapore. It is, I believe, after midnight there. So thank you, Prakash, for staying up. Prakash Samasudran, I've known for more than 20 years. He's an amazing entrepreneur, really dedicated to the space, a wonderful digital innovator. And he's going to talk to us about Enjinstarter tonight, who is one of our sponsors. So when you enjoy the food later tonight, you can thank Prakash for that, for helping fund that. So thank you much. And Prakash, tell us all about Enjinstarter.
Sure. Thanks for the opportunity, Jay, and very excited to be involved with this event. I see this as a beginning of a long journey together. So hi, everyone. My name is Prakash. My company's name is Enjinstarter. We are a launchpad that's focused on blockchain gaming as well as metaverses. We are seed funded by Enjin. So Enjin's one of the early pioneers in the blockchain gaming space. They did their ICO in 2017. They have been building in blockchain gaming ever since. And they recently launched a new blockchain. It's called Infinity. It's going to be on the Polkadot blockchain, right? What we do as Enjinstarter, we are a launchpad, right? So we look for projects that are interested in raising capital. We identify why the project is good. We identify what are the challenges the project or the game needs. And based on that, we actually invest into them. We help them raise additional capital by introducing them to other investors that we work with. We help them build a community, right? So with every project that we have done, the success of any crypto project is the size of the community and how engaged the community is, right? That's the beauty of crypto. Whether the market is up or down, if your community is strong, they're going to hold hands with you and they're going to walk through the entire journey with you. And that's what we focus on. We work with project developers, we identify what their strengths are, and we start helping them go through that entire journey. Now, what is it that we look for in projects, right? At this point of time, a lot of the projects that we're looking at, we want to have gameplay where the man on the street is happy to come onto the game and he has an ability to play the game easily and he can actually win things along the way, right? Some people call this the play to earn model. We are seeing a lot of these models coming about and this is one key area that we're currently looking at. The next big area that we're all excited about is the metaverse, right? Where we all can, without being able to travel, we all can go into this place. And we believe that the metaverse will change the way that we live, work, and play. And that's what's exciting for all of us. We're looking at new platforms where people can come and interact, exchange ideas, and also find ways to kind of solve real-world problems. Right, so that's basically where we are today. We'd love to meet you guys. If you guys have ideas, Jay can arrange a call with us and happy to kind of guide you guys in terms of what is it that you guys need. If it's financial support, we'll find a way to support you. If it's introductions to partners, like exchanges, we're definitely interested in finding a way to work with you. And we're very, very excited to be involved with Jay. I think Jay's a very, very passionate entrepreneur. He's got his heart at the right place. He's invested a lot of time, and I've seen the journey that he has gone through in Kenya. And we look forward to supporting you guys in your journey. So yeah, do reach out if you guys have ideas, and we'd love to see how is it that we can help you. Thank you.
There we go. Can you hear me now, Prakash?
That's it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Oh, great. Do you have time for a couple questions?
Of course, let's do it.
Perfect. All right. Anybody here have questions for a possible funder who has a launch pad that's looking for blockchain games that are looking for funding? Anybody have any questions? Nobody needs funding? Nobody's interested? No, we have two. Let's go back to Moses. Yeah, let's go to Moses first, and then we'll come to you. Sorry.
Thank you for coming and speaking with us. I'm really excited to be here with you. Can you hear me?
There's a bit of background noise. Yes, now it's good. Go ahead.
Now it's good. I was going to say, for in terms of funding, what do typically, let's say, the funders look at? Is it potentially the game has traction, the game has a community built around the release of the game, but they're still in, like, hypothetically, I manage a game called Salam, but the game studio's New Games. So we're building the game now, but we're looking at potential funding options of what maybe potential gaming studios to go to. What would your recommendation be for a prototype that we're looking to turn into kind of Web 3.0, where we'll integrate NFTs, play to earn, and just the whole tokenomics and all those different aspects? Thank you again for.
So yeah, great question. I think that's a question that we get a lot. So firstly, a playable demo is key. I think what we want to see is the team's ability to execute. And I think the team structure, the things that they have done in the past, whether it's good or bad, we like to see that. So I think to answer your question in terms of funding, typically we invest between 25K to up to about 100K US for games that can display some level of maturity and have some ability to show that it's ready for the blockchain space. We do spend a lot of time, sometimes as long as 3 months, to help them kind of understand what aspects of it can be on chain and what aspects of it should be off chain. And I think these are things that we will actually help them with. The other key aspect that we will also be supporting you guys would be in the tokenomics. I think that is a make or break. And I think it needs to be designed in a way where it's fair to everyone in the ecosystem. A lot of projects get too excited, raise capital very quickly and put too much focus on the private investors. And they leave very little for the public. And those projects can get quite dangerous. So again, these are things that we'll fine tune, and through our experience, we've found ways to actually, find tips and tricks on how to get this a lot better. And typically, most projects that come onto our platform, if it's a game, most of them tend to raise anything from 200,000 to up to about 2 million. I would say about 40% of that goes into the development of the game. Another 20% goes into marketing, and the remaining 20% goes into legal costs, regulatory costs. So these are some of the costs that you need to look at when you're looking at doing a token raise. And the most important thing that you need to also consider would be your market maker. So if you're going to list a token on an exchange, you need to work with a partner who's going to help the token value go up, because the last thing that you want is a token being listed for, like, say, $1 and drops to 10 cents, and all your investors are going to be unhappy with you. So these are things that you need to think through, and we would be able to kind of help you figure out the best way. And if you need recommendations to partners, this could also be something that we can facilitate.
Prakash, while we wait on the next question from Nairobi, the online audience has woken up quite a bit. There's a ton of questions coming in.
Yeah.
One is from Tessie, who asked, what are the limitations you have observed from startup teams to raise funding for AAA P2E NFT games? And she means the AAA rating type.
Yeah, so I guess a lot of the AAA studios are still a bit hesitant about coming into the blockchain space. This is primarily because Steam, which is a platform that they're all very familiar with, or other marketplaces like Apple and Google traditionally is stopping blockchain-related games or NFTs from being listed. However, that's now changing. We're definitely seeing a lot more AA, AAA studios actually creating their own blockchain experiments. They're coming into the space, they're dipping their toes into the space. And I think in 2022, we're going to see a lot more higher quality projects that are coming in, because what they saw in 2021 was a lot of these, blockchain first games raising a lot of capital, and they missing out on that action. And I think more importantly, I think what we saw in 2021 is that games have a role to play in the emerging markets. Close to my home in Philippines, we saw a lot of people get through the pandemic by playing games, and gaming has become a big part of our lifestyle in places like Vietnam. So we're starting to see a lot more play to earn coming in, and I think this is where a lot more AAA studios will also start entering into the space.
Excellent. Let's go to George now.
Hello, can you hear me, Prakash?
Yes, loud and clear now, actually, the sound.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all the knowledge you're sharing today. My question is, are you guys funding any specific genres of games or any specific mechanics? Or is it basically have a really awesome prototype and an awesome team behind it?
Yes. As long as the game has the ability to attract a community, we're willing to put money and effort into it. And in this day and age where we all can't travel, gaming plays a key important role. Firstly, in entertainment. Secondly, we're providing an opportunity to earn a side income. And we also believe that these gaming environments is what is going to advance us into the metaverse. So yeah, I wouldn't say that there's a particular genre that we're looking at. We have supported racing games, we supported P2P games. So as long as there's a level of fan engagement and we believe that you can build a community around it, we're happy to support.
All right, let's go back to Tim to one of the online questions.
All right, this is from Mr. E. Thank you, Prakash. My question for you is, given the nature of our ecosystem, we have a plethora of young, talented minds who would greatly benefit from this. However, the main challenge has been access to infrastructure and resources for operations. Is it possible to give an exception to applicants from Sub-Sahara to include these bottlenecks? Else we will continue to falling behind.
Yeah. So I think the best approach now, is finding ways to actually collaborate. We believe that you guys have a large market, and we also believe that you guys have a lot of talent. And that's why a lot of initiatives that GA is working on are things that we want to look at. We want to build this bridge together, right? And we want to be able to kind of help two ways, right? For you guys to kind of access more developed countries, and for us to also bring more people down your way. And I think it's all beginning to happen. We just need to think with the bigger picture. We shouldn't restrict ourselves to the geographies that we're in, and we need to find ways to actually partner. And Enjinstarter is happy to do that. We'll definitely find ways to kind of work with Jay. We'll start with a small pilot, right? A small project where it's a project that you guys are creating. We'll find a way to accelerate that, raise capital for it. And then through that success, I think it's going to be a lot easier to create a lot more success. So take, for example, Axie Infinity. It was one game that came out of Vietnam. They struggled for a few years, and when they finally, broke through, suddenly now they've created an entire genre, and so many other companies have come about. We need to create that. We don't need to follow and copy what's happening in developing countries. We just need to look around and figure out what exactly is going to work in Africa or in Sub-Sahara, and we need to build from there. And if you think about it, the key really is communities, right? As long as you could find a way to bring the community in your region together, and we can entertain them, we can provide gaming mechanics, I think we've got something very interesting. And I think from there, we can develop a whole range of other solutions that is on the fringe of gaming and support a whole lot of ecosystems.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Prakash. And I think the need for the community, both around a game, but also the developers of the games, is really so critical. And like Axie, we need a lighthouse here in Africa to sort of show the way and to be an example. And in traditional gaming, in Web 2 gaming, we've had that in the last couple of weeks with Carry First in South Africa, raising $20 million 2 weeks ago, right? And setting a 100 million valuation. That really puts a huge flag in the ground for Africa gaming. But at the same time, one of our next speakers coming up, Black, who's the founder of Legends of Mitra, is going to talk about exactly how he's sort of treading that path for us here in Africa. So I want to recognize for Prakash, I know it's very late there, it's after midnight. I think we have time for one more question. We'll go to Dean from Kunta Content here in Nairobi.
My question is, hi Prakash, Dean from Kunta Content. My question is similar to George's in that we are trying to figure out not only the genre, but platforms. So is it mobile, PC, console, web, focused games? And when you mean or say community, do you have a specific understanding around the number, maybe 100 players, 1,000 players, 10,000 players, and so on? Or is it just community?
Yeah, I would say its community numbers currently are very, very low in a lot of the projects that we have supported. And I think, some of these guys are even struggling to get even 10,000 players to play the game consecutively. In terms of platforms, definitely, I think that a lot of the early games that we saw are PC-based. But I think if you want to succeed in emerging markets, you definitely need mobile and you definitely need browser games that we have actually started seeing. One of the games that we have done very well with, they're called Cytus Heroes, and the entire game can be played through a browser without having to download anything. And I think those are some of the interesting things that we're looking at. But I guess the key really is to look at it in a big picture, figure out what's going to be the easiest way to actually attract a small community. You can call them your tribe. You want them to come, you want them to play certain games, and you want to actually reward them by being early. And I think that's what NFTs offer, right? In the past, we didn't have this mechanics, but now you can actually design an entire community growth strategy using NFT. And I think this is what you guys should look at and figure out ways that we can actually build in a lot more intelligence, build in a lot more features into some of these NFTs. Use these NFTs to recognize the early adopters in your tribe. And I think that's one great way to build engagement.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's have a big round of applause for Prakash from Enjinstarter. Thank you so much. Thanks for all of the advice, the information, and of course for the pizza. So we appreciate all of it.
Enjoy, guys.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. Go get some sleep.
Cheers, then, Jay. Thank you. Right.
Excellent. I hope everybody's having fun learning something. We're trying to make it maybe not too technical, trying to cover some of the basics, but we got some great questions coming out. I'm going to take a few minutes and talk to you about a local project that we're doing here with Usiku Games and give you a sense about sort of our journey. And then when we're done, we're going to talk to Black, who's dialing in from Ghana, who's running Legends of Mitra, which is a blockchain game that has just launched on one of the launch pads. And you know, I'm gonna talk now that Prakash is off the line. We can actually talk honestly. Let me talk to you about launch pads, right? So there's a process to go through with all of these Web3 games, right? And I'm old enough that I started doing Web 1 development in the early days of Flash and CD-ROMs and all that kind of thing. Then I built a Web 2 business called App Maker. And now we're really looking at how do we transition gaming from that Web 2 world into the Web 3 world, right? And what does that mean? And what's interesting is that there's kind of a recipe for success when you look at who's out there so far, and it's really, really early days for all of this, right? I mean, we're less than 2 years old in this space, really. I mean, you could say Axie's been around longer than that, but it hasn't really been a big thing, right? And one of the big elements that is so important for that success, and what Prakash was mentioning, is this concept of community, right? And so many of us in Web 2 games will build games and put them out to influencers and maybe some PR and do a launch campaign and user acquisition and all that. But we never really brought the users and the players into the community. And that's a big difference with Web3, right? Where every game, at least every successful one, really has a very active Discord. They have a really active Telegram. The players are not just buying the game or playing the game or buying the in-app purchases, but are really driving the development process, right? And have influence over the shaping of the game. And getting them excited is so important because most of these blockchain games are successful based on a token launch of some sort, right? That's how you're going to get your funding, by taking a new token or an existing token and going out and selling it. And the way to do that is to get people excited about it, right? And that comes down to what Prakash was saying is community, right? It's so important. And community managers are an important part of this. So many people will say to me, you know, when you think of web development or game development, I should say, they think about coders, right? And certainly the coding, the engineering is absolutely an important part. And like I said, last week we had 150 engineers here. But really, that's probably 10 or 20% of the process of building a game, right? You have your illustrators, your animators, your sound engineers, your musicians. In our games, we have rappers because we do custom soundtracks here in Kenya, right? You have the marketers, you have the community managers. All of this comes together, and especially these days with the tokenomics, that's a whole strategy and economic element that needs to be done as well, right? So be thinking about all of that, because as I said to Dean earlier today, you know, there's a huge difference between making a game and making a game business, right? They're not the same thing. And if you want to be successful in this space, it really has to operate well as a business. It's not good enough that it's just cool, right? It's possible in a Web 2 space to build a really cool game, put it out there, have a few really passionate people who play it, love it, respect you, and that's all you need, right? Well, in the blockchain space, you actually need that tokenomics, you need that participation from an economic perspective for it to work. So what we're doing, you know, Usiku Games, we're a social impact game developer, right? We believe in the power of gamification to create behavioral modification and education. We focus on areas like women's empowerment, healthcare, education. We've done climate change, deforestation, those sorts of things. And I really believe that Web3 blockchain gaming has huge potential in that area, where we can actually have the games as an economic engine for creating change in the real world, if you will, right? Beyond the metaverse. And so that's part of what we're doing. We're building a platform based on casual mobile games, because this is Africa and we're mobile first, right? That people can play in the matatu on the way to work, as opposed to Axie Infinity where they're trying to replace work. And in the games, the players will win rewards for accomplishments through the games, going to levels and beating bosses and that sort of thing. And then they'll be able to convert those rewards, those coins, those stable coins. And remember, there's $1.2 trillion in stable coins currently, right? It's crazy. To be able to convert those stable coins into real shillings for things that are socially beneficial. So you'll be able to top up IF, you'll be able to pay your university or TVET fees. You'll be able to do health savings account through MTIBA. You'll be able to do donations to people like WWF or wildlife conservation, right? Things that make the world a little bit better place and make your life personally a little bit better as a player. So that's kind of what we're focused on. And really, I think it's just one example of blockchain gaming to make a positive social impact. And certainly I would encourage you to think, as we create this industry in Africa, which really is a clean sheet of paper, that we can make it in whatever form we want, right? We don't have to follow the standard model that has been done in so many other countries. We don't have to create just another Axie, right? Or another first-person shooter. We can actually create the industry in the form that we want, representative of Africa and the legends and the stories that exist here, and the characters and the realities that exist here. And I think we can make it our own. Why is that important? I believe, and I said this on TV this afternoon, I believe that Africa and gaming in Africa is about to become the #1 most important market globally in the gaming industry, right? Gaming this year is set to be a $200 billion industry, bigger than all of movies, bigger than all of music combined, okay? When you look at how that breaks down, the latest Xbox, the X and the S model, right, globally have shipped 12 million units, okay? In 2019, so just before COVID, the last data we have, in sub-Saharan Africa, there was 350 million connected smartphones, right? PwC predicts that that's going to be 680 million by 2026, right? Anybody who tells you that gaming is about gamers with a capital G and esports and consoles and PCs haven't been to Africa, right? This is where it's happening. And there's only 3 markets globally that potentially have 1 billion players, and that's China, India, and now Africa. And with our median age of 19, the youth energy that's here, the connectivity that we have because of the infrastructure is allowing us as a continent to completely leapfrog the rest of the industry. And that's why guys like this from Polygon and Harmony and Enjinstarter and all that, they're happy to come and meet with you guys because they're so enthusiastic about what the potential is for the market here. And it's such an exciting time. And you guys are going to drive it, right? I can't wait until 10 years from now when this is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry in Africa to be able to look back and say, oh yeah, I was in that room at that time when we first started talking about it, right? Because that's what this is. And it may not feel like it to you, but I guarantee you that's what this is. And you will look back on this and you go, wow, I was there at the beginning, right? It's an exciting, exciting time. So that's me. That's Usiku Games. We have another great speaker coming up. I think maybe 2 more tonight. Do we have Black on the line already? Is he here?
I don't think so, Jay. I'm checking. I don't see him in the attendee list. I just messaged him to see if he was going to join us soon. I think we're ahead of schedule is the challenge.
Okay. So maybe let's...
Jay,
yeah.
Thank you so much. Anybody have questions? Anybody with a question?
No?
No.
Nobody ever asked me questions. That's fine.
Oh, wait, there is. Ooh, for the first time.
Online? Oh, Layla has a question. All right. Tim, can you out for us? I don't have a keyboard.
As we wait for Layla, we have one right here in Nairobi.
Let's say, how do you build an organic community? That's a really good question. You know what? That is a lot of what Black is going to talk about with Legends of Mitra, so I don't want to take away his steam too much, but it's a really important part. Let's see. Sagan says, can you talk a bit about crypto tokens as in-game currency? Any success or failure stories so far? What are the cons? I don't have a whole lot of experience to go from because we haven't built any yet. You know, the Usiku Games one is coming out in March, so I don't really have personal success to talk about, but I can talk about what's happened in the industry, which is, you know, really comes back to what Steven said, which is it has to be both worthwhile for the players to want to earn from it, in terms of the amount of coins that they're going to earn per hour playing, but more importantly, it has to be a good game. Right? So many of the crypto based games suck, right? And they come up being like Skinner boxes where you just go and you just press the button over and over again trying to win, right? And I don't think that's a long-term solution. I think they're succeeding now because it's new and it's interesting and people are willing to do it. But fundamentally, as it has always been, whether you're talking PC games or the Atari 2600, which I started on, right, when I was a kid, they have to be great games. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be great graphics, because, you know, that can be the case. But there are some truly addictive games that are really simple. Right? They just have to be fun and compelling and have a good tokenomics behind it where it makes sense for you to spend your time in doing that. We had a local question, sorry?
Yeah, Jay, we have a question from Barry from Gurunzi.
Hi, I'm a bit off topic. I'm going to ask a question that's a bit off topic. It's about...
You want my recipe for ugali?
I know how to cook.
Not that off topic. Okay.
Yeah, not that off topic. It's about gaming and communities, but off blockchain. So you just said that in Africa, mobile gaming is really growing and it's expected to grow drastically by 2026. I'm asking about maybe PC console communities gaming in Africa. If you have data for that, or if you what you think about that going forward, considering the data, how it's changing for mobile and gaming and blockchain gaming generally in Africa. How do you see PC and console communities and gaming in Africa changing?
Yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting question. So for starters, I think there's two things that are changing: Africa and PCs and consoles, right? The consoles themselves are changing. Where we're seeing much more digital content, you know, we're not buying discs anymore. And at the same time, we had Google Stadia, which failed miserably, but was a great example of cloud-based gaming, right? And Microsoft, especially with the new acquisition they've just made, are really going to be pushing into that. And Phil Spencer, who's the global head of Xbox, $10 billion industry, he was here 2 years ago, came to see us in Kenya, because they absolutely believe that is the future for Xbox and for Microsoft, where they're transforming from Xbox no longer meaning a box, right? But just content and gaming communities, right? And so many people meet and communicate within the games, right? And so having that cloud power where they're having, you know, in the case of Stadia, where they had 1 GPU per player guaranteed, right, is creating the power to play far beyond what you could do in a home PC without that kind of investment. The challenge is the data. Right? People don't want to spend that much on data, or the pings are too slow, right? And that's transforming dramatically, right? And Africa, again, is leading the way with the 5G infrastructure that's being rolled out here through people like Liquid Telecom, one of our sponsors for the Global Game Jam this coming Friday, by the way. If you haven't signed up, come join the jam. But yeah, they're rolling it out, right? With all the Huawei routers. And so the cost of data only goes one direction, right? It never gets more expensive. It only gets cheaper. And already in Kenya, we are 1/10 the cost per gigabyte of what it is in the US, right? And it's just going to keep going down. And so I think that as people become more affluent, as the phones become more powerful, as the cloud becomes stronger for the games and the servers come locally, AWS is opening a pop here in Nairobi and one in Lagos. We have already in South Africa. All those factors are going to come together to where you're going to wind up with AAA level gaming on mobile devices. And maybe that will be a folding mobile device, or it'll be a bigger and it'll be almost the same size screen as what you would have at home. But I think we're going to see more and more of that. And also having cloud-based gaming to your smart TV, right? Through things like Chromecast and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so of course, this means this sort of bubble busting means that communities are going to grow larger and stronger and knit tightly with this bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm not a Facebook fan,
Okay.
but one thing that I do think makes sense is that, there is some sort of a metaverse future. I don't know what that's going to be. I don't believe it's VR. Okay, that's my personal opinion. I do not think we're all going to put goggles on and live inside a VR metaverse, similar to what you saw in Ready Player One, right? However, if you look at Fortnite, that's already metaverse, right? People spend hours inside it. They communicate inside it. They study inside it, right? They have friends that they've never met in the real world that they only do inside it, right? There's a whole economy based inside it, right? So I believe that whatever the metaverse winds up being, it will start in gaming. Yeah. And that's where we're seeing the model for those future communities, for sure.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you. I think maybe let's take a break. Everybody can get up and stretch for 5 minutes, and then we will come back with Black and carry on. Okay, so we'll see you guys in 5 minutes. All right, we're going to get started in a couple of minutes. Just want to do a sound check with Black, who's dialing in from Ghana. Black, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you guys.
Perfect, perfect. All right, we'll be with you in just 1 minute.
Okay, awesome.
Everybody, if you want to kind of get settled back into your chairs, we're going to get started again. All right, come on back. Everybody get settled. We're going to go start it again with our last speaker of the evening. We might have two. We'll see. We're still waiting for somebody from Harmony to confirm, dialing in from the US. But let me paint a picture for you guys. I want you to imagine you're in the middle of the Sahara Desert. You've been walking for days. You haven't had water, you haven't had food, you're just in the middle of sand everywhere. And you come over a dune, and on the other side, there's a Java house with like 100 people just sitting around drinking coffee and having conversations and having bitings, right? That's what it was like when I discovered Black. I thought I knew the gaming industry in Africa. I thought I knew Kenya. And I was doing research around blockchain gaming, and I came across his company called Gems, which have released a couple of games. They've just got a new one now called Legends of Mitra. And I'm like, wow, this is really awesome. And I reached out to Black on his Discord, and I started talking to him. And I'm like, so, like, where are you guys from? And he said, well, actually, I'm from Ghana, but I spend most of my time living in Nairobi. And I'm like, how is that even possible? How, like, you're here in Nairobi, and we had no idea. And it's amazing to find such a great example, case study for us of how to do this right. And it's somebody who's right here. So he's in Ghana today, and he's dialing in on Zoom. So I'm going to hand over to Black. Black, tell us all about Legends of Mitra and what your process has been getting to where you are today.
Okay, awesome. Let me do a quick screen share if that's possible. Okay, it seems that's not possible, but
Tim, can you enable it for
hi everyone?
him?
Yep, Black, it should be possible now. Go ahead and check that.
Okay, cool. Let me do that. So just a second. Okay, please let me know if you can see my screen. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Awesome, cool. So hi everyone. My name is Kena. So Kena, it's spelled like, so you think of Kenya, and then you take away the YA, right? So it's Kena. So that's my name. And then whenever I'm in Kenya, that's how I sort of explain it to people when they want to get my name. So originally I'm from Ghana, but I've been going in and out of Kenya for a while. So most of the time I'm also in Kenya. And then I've been into gaming for a while. I think this is my second year fully into gaming. But a little bit background about me. So I started off in 2010 as a software engineer. And And then I did my first startup. So I've had 3 startups before this one, but prior to that, I have had other startups that have failed, right? So my first 2 startups got acquired. My 3rd startup is still ongoing right now. So my co-founder, when I stepped down, my co-founder took over. And then I decided to go into, so I fell in love with blockchain and I decided to start building games for blockchain, right? And that is where I am today. So basically, what the company name is called Gem Studios. What we are doing is basically building blockchain NFT games with the hopes of empowering or changing or improving the economy in Africa, right? So play-to-earn games are doing very well in Africa and outside Africa, where you sort of get games and you play, and then your time that you spend in playing, you are rewarded for that. You can now trade these tokens that you earn for real world cash, which you can spend anyhow you want, right? So the idea is to build games which reward players, mostly. The game could be an African content game, non-African content game. It just needs to be valuable, be fun, and then people enjoy playing it. And then once they play it, they earn tokens from it, they earn NFTs, which they can later on sell to make a living. So that is the idea. That's how we started. And then in terms of the things we are doing as a company, there are 4 key areas we are focusing on. So we are building play-to-earn games. We have an NFT marketplace where you can sell NFTs that you earn in all our games. We're also going to launch a launch pad for gaming in Africa. So for us, when we're starting, it was very hard for us to launch our games because one, you are starting off with little or no reputation at all. Hardly would you, the blockchain space is just made up of purely trust. And so if you don't have trust, it's very hard for you to sort of launch your game, get it out there, and then get the investment that you need for it, right? And then lucky for us, we've been able to navigate this and build the reputation. So providing a launch pad for African games, African focused games or African games that are built by African founders, we think that could be a great boost for the African gaming system as well. And so that's one of the things we want to focus on. And then the third thing, the last thing will be metaverse, where we are looking at every game that we sort of help launch. If they are interested, they could connect into our metaverse of games, where if there's a hero in maybe in Jay's game, you could sort of move that hero into our game and play with the hero, right? So across board, you could sort of move heroes around and then play with them. And so these are the 4 things we are doing. And I think one of the key areas will be much more valuable to this community is when anybody here is trying to launch a game, we could sort of help them, guide them, and then provide them with the platform which will make them easy for them to launch their blockchain or NFT games as well. So we ourselves, we are building our first game, and this is our main game. So we have 2 other games, but those were not key for us. So this is our first key game, which we call Legends of Mitra. It's a defense tower focused game. And so you sort of have your heroes, you have all the heroes are NFTs, which you can buy, trade, and sell in the game. You have your towers, which you can sort of strategically position them, and then you can fight enemies, and then you are rewarded for your gameplay. So we have a unique way of rewarding players, basically how much time you spend in the game, how much enemies you kill, all this we combine to reward you in the game. And so in summary, that's about us. In terms of Legends of Mitra, we raised a private round of about 1.5 mil for this. Our private round ended in December last year. We have support from most of the big GameFi NFT investors out there. So you can think of Shima Capital, UB, M6, and then most of some big blockchains also backed us, like Clayton, like Chronos, and then Algorand as well. So I think we're pretty fortunate to be able to land some of these big investors to bring this project to life. In summary, that'll be all. You can check out our game. So our website, the game website is legendsofmitra.com. You can check it out. You can see what we are doing, and then you can always reach out to me if you have any questions or you want help launching your own game as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Big round of applause for Kenna. So Kenna, I'm guessing here that there's going to be a ton of questions for you, and I'm gonna play the card where I'm the one holding the microphone, so I get to ask the first question. So sorry to everybody else. let's break this up into a few different sections. So let's talk about your private round, your launch pad, and then your community. All right. So let's start with the private round. You raised about 1.5 million US dollars from a number of different crypto-focused VCs. How did you do that? How did you reach out to them? Did you work with somebody? Did you have an incubator, or did you just send them emails?
Okay, okay, thank you. So I think so everything in the crypto space starts with trust, right? So basically for us, it started with one person we brought on as an advisor. That was a very boost for us. So one advisor came on, and then we have one incubator that we started off with. So that's Rocket BC. So an incubator sort of liked our game and then gave us our first, I'll probably say money, like angel investment to start with, right? So from let's say the angel investor to the advisor, they sort of brought in most of the investors that we have, right? So they'll give you a lead to the investor, they'll do an intro for you, and it's your job to pitch the investor, pitch a dream that you are building, where you are looking to go, and then sell them the vision that you have for your product, your game, or your company, right? And so that's how it is. So once you sell them your vision, and then once they like your idea, and then they see the viability of it, they will sort of come on. And so for us, the key thing started by a few people introducing us to investors, and then that sort of made everything possible for us.
And would you say that of all the investors that you got, were any of them particularly focused on Africa? Was the fact that you were from Africa an advantage or a disadvantage? Did you have to convince people, and some other VCs just walked away because they didn't want to touch Africa? Like, what was your experience from that perspective?
Okay, cool. So yeah, so some VCs were interested in the African market. If you look at Bitcoin exchanges and other things happening in Africa, it's huge. And then play to earn is the next thing that is coming. So it looks huge. It's going to be huge in Africa as well, right? So some investors were, other investors were not ready to sort of, they don't think Africa is ready for play to earn, mainly because of issues with internet data. Even though the internet penetration rate is going up in Africa, but it's still pretty expensive in some part of Africa to be able to buy data and then and play games, right? And so this sort of came up with a challenge or something we needed to solve. So when we finally launched Legends of Mitra, you can play it offline and still be able to earn rewards with it, right? So we needed to figure that one out. And so yes, we have a few investors also turn away based on the fact that Africa is not, so for their assumption, Africa is not ready yet, even though they believe that there's a possibility. But we strongly believe that if you don't start, we'll never be ready, right? So we need to start pushing, we need to start making the mistakes and correcting ourselves so that we can get the continent there. So yes, I have other investors that backed us fully, and then we are here today.
Those are some really good points. I mean, I think the fact that we're in Africa is a huge advantage for so many of us, given the market potential. But I agree with you. I think it definitely takes some extra convincing, and some just don't want to be convinced. And the fact that you're doing an offline version of your game is a great example of how you're adapting the play to earn model to fit the local economy. Can I ask you, so before you came on, the last speaker, Prakash from Enjinstarter, he runs a launch pad and was talking about sort of launching your game on their launch pad. You chose to do 3 launch pads. You went with Red Kite, Oxbow, and GameFi. Can you talk about sort of that experience? Why did you choose 3? What is that common? What values did they bring to you?
Okay, thank you very much. So, one, the reason why we chose 3 launch pads, it was because these launch pads are seen as a key or one of the main players when it comes to play to earn in the blockchain space, right? So GameFi is really big, Red Kite is big, and then Oxbow is also big. So, and they have pretty huge communities, right? So by fact that your game is being launched there means that you're going to get a huge number of players coming on, even if they are not investors, but they will be coming to play your game, and then also, of course, making the game popular and then growing the game, right? So one was strategic, mainly because they are big in the space, they have the community, and then that would help us sort of launch, that help us grow when we launch. 2 was they have, they really vet your project well, And so if you launch over there, you are sort of trusted in the community that Red Kite or GameFi Oxbow is not just going to launch any game. They are going to launch games that they've vetted. And that means that you're not going to run away with anybody's money. You're actually going to deliver on your promise that you want to do, right? So these are the things that came together with it, because investors are trusting you. Sometimes they've not even met you and they are trusting you with their money. So they need a platform that can vouch for you that, hey, this guy is legit, the company is legit, and they're actually building something that we believe in them. So these 3 launch pads also served as a sort of social proof or backing for us.
Yeah, I think that's hugely important. I mean, unfortunately, there's so many scammers still in the space that having that social proof, really speaks volumes. Let's go to Tim now. Tim, you want to read us one of the online questions from somewhere else in Africa?
Yeah, I'll actually do you one better. Waleed is on the line, and he's got to leave, but he has a question before he does.
Hi, thank you, everybody. So it's an amazing session. I'm just delighted following all this. So thank you, Kenan, for sharing all this with us. It's very insightful too. So before I ask my question, I also want to say hi to all the communities that are following us. So we have people in Tunis, in the DOT, in Info, but also in Algeria, Morocco, and of course all the other fans all around the continent and everywhere. So. Kenan, I'm a studio founder, and I'm believing. How are you dealing with all those investors in the same time? So hashtag headache, and also, I mean, what's your daily communication with them? And is it equity based, or is it grants, or is it based on the ICO? So I would like to understand all this.
Okay, cool. So all our investors right now on board are on token safe. So more like they purchase tokens before the token launches, right? So so an investor could come in and then buy some. So the game is going to launch with a utility token, which we call Mitra, right? So Mitra can be used for governance. It can be used for buying NFTs in the game. It can be used for paying for resources in the game, right? And so these investors are buying their tokens upfront before the token launches, right? So they could come in at a discount, let's say at 0.05, 0.04, depending on which round they got in. And so they could come in at a discount. And then when we do, and so at our private round, we sold 1 Mitra for $0.05, right? And so that was the price of the token at the private round. And then at IDO round, which was a few weeks after private round, we sold 1 Mitra for $0.06, right? And so for an investor, that is probably like a cent up for them. So the fact that they came in early, the fact that they risk their capital to back you, they sort of get profit when the token eventually launches, right? And when we launch, we'll be launching on the 21st of February. We'll be launching the token on the 21st of February. The launching price is going to be 0.07. And so investors that got in at 0.05 sort of have, let's say 0.2 up. And so when you do 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x return, they are sort of making profit. So everybody comes in because of profit, right? But then the trick here is that you need to find investors that are not really focused on the short-term profit, right? If not, your economy will crash. And so you want investors that are, we call them diamond hands. They are going to stick with you through the bad and good times. They are going to hold the tokens for a very long time. And then they are not going to dump all of it on the market. They are gradually maybe going to sell at a point in time, right? And so those are the investors that you're going to look for. And when you are fundraising, once you get two good, let's say A+ or diamond hand investors on board, you get all the other smaller funds coming in, right? These smaller funds comes in, and then they push a lot of money towards you. But you need to really vet them because most of them are just looking for short-term profit. So they'll come in, buy the token. When you launch, they dump the token and then they crash your market, right? And so you always have to vet your investors very well. As much as they are doing due diligence on you, you need to do the same thing on them. You need to find out which projects have they backed and how maybe find a few. You need to have advisors that are in this market as well, right? So that they can help you vet investors that you bring on as well. Yeah. So we did a token sale round this time. So in terms of equity, our equity cap is still 100%. We don't have any investors on our equity cap in terms of traditional equity cap yet. Yeah.
Is the private sales still open?
No, the private sale was done in November. Yeah, I think November. Yeah, and then we announced it in December. Yeah.
So we will all wait for the public one. So.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And before you thank you, Walid, for joining us. So Walid runs the studio Digital Mania in Tunisia. And by the way, is another amazing success story for game development in Africa. So his game, Warshmallows, just launched on the Nintendo Switch and on the Epic Store, and of course on Steam. And is one of the first games from Africa that's really going global, and is a great example of the creativity that's coming out of Tunisia. So thank you for joining, Walid, and thanks for organizing all the viewing parties happening there tonight.
It's a great pleasure, Jay, and thank you for all the efforts you all guys are doing, pushing the ecosystem. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, let's go to Tim.
All right, I have a question from Mr. E again. Hey, Kenna, did you bootstrap, and how long did it take before making your first raise?
Okay, thank you. So it took us about, I'll probably say about 10 months. So we started in January 2021. We did, so in terms of private round, right? So we started in January 2021 with $12,000. So we started with $12,000. Some of the capital came from myself at the start. So we started with $12,000 and then went our way to do a seed round somewhere in March, April, March, of 250K. So we did our seed round of 250K. And then we came down to August, September to start our private round, which took us about 2 months. And so August, September, we started our private round, and then we did the 1.4 at that time. Yeah. So in total, I'll probably say a year. It took us a year to get to this point. Yeah.
Awesome. We've talked a lot about the funding. Let's change gears for a minute and talk about community. So how are you guys managing your community? Because that's, I know, something you do so strongly.
Yep. So first, we started off by bringing on a marketing team, which is pretty much expensive anyway. So you sort of bring a marketing team. So we brought a marketing team on board to help us build and grow the community, right? And so the marketing team came up with their own, they come in with their own community managers who are working 8 hours a day and then around the clock, 24 hours, right? Answering questions that are coming from the community. So that was really great for us. It took sort of the burden and then the stress from us once we take our time to focus on the game. In terms of the community itself, we started an airdrop. So we started a $30,000 airdrop. Which ran for about 2 months. And so this airdrop got picked up by a few of the, when we started pushing out, got picked up by a few of the influencers. And that grew our Telegram community to about, right now, I think we have about 120K community members. And so the airdrop ended today. So it ended today. We'll be announcing the winners soon, but largely it was an airdrop campaign. It was a marketing team that we brought on that helped us grow our community to this point.
And that's mostly through Discord?
No, so mostly through, so Discord just have, the community we have on Telegram is way bigger than what we have on Discord. Yeah. So mostly through Telegram. Yeah.
Okay. And you think that both are necessary?
Yeah, so strange enough, you sort of find that some people like to be on Telegram, others like to be on Discord. For whatever reason, you probably wouldn't, I don't know, yeah. And so those that want to be on Discord, we still have a community for them on Discord, and those that want to be on Telegram, we have a community for them on Telegram as well. Some people believe that Telegram is lightweight for them on their mobile devices, and Discord is heavy. Some other people prefer Discord. So we have these two communities as well. So wherever you prefer, wherever you feel comfortable, you can engage with us.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to a question here. Anybody in Nairobi have a question? Yep, here we go.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
My name is Mary. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you, Mary.
Yes, thank you. I'm part of the Legend of Mitra community. Unfortunately, I missed the IGO on GameFi. I missed it. But you guys, you're supposed to launch the coin immediately after the IGO, but you've postponed it up to February. Do you have any reasons for that? Another question. There are so many play to earn games out there, like the Monkey Balls and Dita Arena and all that. They're coming up, and there'll be much more coming up. So what will you do to make sure that these Legends of Mitra is gonna remain at the top of the market? Because a lot of people I know in the community, they just want to make profit and just live. And maybe few people just want to play the game. So what will you do to make sure that your game is at the top all the time?
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So the first question has to do with the TGE. So why we didn't launch the tokens on time. So ideally, it's just purely based on how the market is performing right now. So if we are supposed to launch maybe 2 weeks back when we finished our IDO, even now the market conditions are not good, and then we probably would break. So we believe if we did that at that time, we would have broken even. We wouldn't have been able to bring, say, a fair amount of profit to our investors, right? And people that supported us and backed us. So we decided to take a strategic decision and then shift the date a little bit up, instead of the usual way you do it after IGO. So that is purely based on the market conditions. That's why we push the date up. We still don't know whether this is the best time or not. February is the best time or not to launch the token, but we did a poll in the community. So I don't know if you caught that, but we did a poll in the community where the community voted for a certain period of time. And so we decided to launch on that date. So that's why. In terms of what we are doing to stay up, so primarily we are focusing on a number of things. One is we are primarily building and targeting the African market, right? And so that's one. Africa is huge. Building a solution that is catered towards the African market in terms of something like our offline gameplay and other things, we think that would continuously bring people into the game and keep the engagement going up. We also have other interesting things that we'll be launching. So a typical example is, let's say you have a good musician in Kenya that's really performing well. He wants to get to the audience, right? We could just have him stream his music in Legends of Mitra, right? And then he could get to all the Kenyans that are playing Legends of Mitra at a point in time, right? And that would be a huge boost for him. So maybe he could just pay us a few bucks and then get his game there. And then the money that we charge will be shared to everybody that played and listened to that music at that time, right? So more like community reward sharing. So we have a lot of crazy things that we want to bring on board, constantly innovating the game and pushing the game beyond the boundaries. And then we believe that will still keep us on top. And I think lastly, we are not really looking to compete. We are looking to sort of collaborate with other games, right? And find a synergy. So if you have a hero or an NFT in another game, you could sort of easily, if we have a solid collaboration, you could sort of easily bring it into Legends of Mitra with all its attributes, its power, its skills, and then come and play, right? And so that is how we are also seeing it going forward.
That's a good answer. It's a tough question. Well done, Mary. So I think we have our next speaker from Harmony coming up. Let's ask one more question. Tim, do you want to go back to the chat?
Sure. And just to give you an update, Abhi from Harmony will be joining in just a minute or two. He just messaged, so that's good. The question is from Layla, who asked, what would you give, Kenna, for 3 tips that you believe would guide someone in building a community around their project organically?
Okay, cool. So I think one has to do with openness, right? You need to be very open about what you're building, who you are, who the team is. So in the crypto space or wherever place that you are trying to build, or whichever industry you are focusing on, being open and then having an open culture really helps, right? So openness is one. 2 is being able to show the community something that you are building, right? So keeping the community involved. So if you make a hero, if you make a character, share it with the community. If you have a backstories of your heroes, your environment, your world, share it with the community, right? Keep the community involved. And then 3 is provide value that will benefit the community. So you could either reward them with NFTs, you could reward them with whatever that you are building. So your early adopters, you need to provide some value for them, and then they will sort of become your word of mouth influencers, and they'll keep pushing you out, right? So 1, being open to engaging with the community, and 3, providing reward or incentive for your early adopters as well.
Wow, there's a lot to learn in there. This is why we wanted to have you on, Ken, because you've managed to get it so well on your first big game, and so we have so much admiration for you. So well done. Thank you so much for sharing your advice and your information tonight, and we wish you really great luck with the TGE, and hope it goes amazing for you. So thank you for sharing, and thanks for being part of the gaming community here in Africa. Big round of applause for Kenna.
Thank you very much for having me, everyone. Okay, bye.
So we've talked a couple times tonight about our sponsors, and I just want to mention them again just to say thank you. So we have a meal, pizza and chicken and drinks and all that upstairs that we're going to go to. We have one more speaker and then we're going to get up there. But that is thanks to Prakash from Enjinstarter, who sponsored us for that tonight. And really, I want to thank a huge thank you to Polygon, who spoke to us at the beginning, but also Harmony. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Harmony blockchain, it's a really interesting ecosystem that's being built out. That really has a focus around social impact and developing the community. And one thing that Harmony did that's really interesting is they created this $300 million fund to create DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, to facilitate development in each of the local communities. And Ed, who spoke to you before, is the head of the Harmony Africa DAO. There's also George, who had a runoff for a baby this evening, who's running the Kenya Harmony DAO, and they're really supporting the local community. And if you have projects that you want to build on blockchain, I'll tell you from having worked with these guys, it's a really great way to get that thing started. And there's grant funding and support and resources and videos, and it's one of the few blockchain communities I've seen where the actual founders, Stephen, who's ex-Google, really are present and there. We all talk about Satoshi, but nobody's ever met him, right? Or her, or them, or whatever. But Steven does YouTube videos all the time, and he's there, and you can put a face to it. And so our next speaker is actually from Harmony. Tim, do we have him on yet?
We do. Yeah, he just joined.
Awesome. So let's have a big round of applause and welcome Avi from Harmony.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for that quick introduction. I'm sorry I could not join this call for its entirety, but I'm glad I could make it. Firstly, can everybody hear me? Tim, am I audible to everybody?
Yeah, we hear you fine. That's great.
Perfect. Well, great. So yes, I'm from Harmony. Just to give you a very quick introduction about what I do at Harmony, and then I can also tell you more about what Harmony is. I'm sure you've already heard it. And I can also give you a little more insights on what Harmony plans to do in this gaming space. And also our vision for this coming year in the gaming space. So firstly, myself, my name is Abhishek. I'm currently based in Paris, and I do marketing for Harmony. So I've been with Harmony. I in fact was with Harmony and the Harmony team in Lisbon, where we were attending some of the bigger events in this Web3 space. We are also we're also going to be hosting or one of the sponsors for ETH Denver which is in the coming month in the USA, and we're very proud of it because it's one of the biggest or largest Ethereum conferences. So that's a very quick introduction about me. It's great that I'm actually heading into this topic, because I was just in Paris last week where there were a bunch of events around the metaverse and the NFT space. So my line of thinking is still in metaverse and NFTs, but I know that GameFi gaming can definitely be incorporated in this space, and it is actually. It just comes under the bigger umbrella called metaverse, but there's huge scope for gaming in this metaverse, and everyone hears metaverse, everyone talks about metaverse, but this is something that I remember. I was also invited to speak on metaverse in this event at Paris, and one of the things that I mentioned, and one of the things that I've noticed also, is that metaverse often seems like this relatively new term that everybody wants to talk about. Everyone thinks that it's the hottest trend right now, But metaverse has actually been around, or at least the idea of metaverse has been around since, I would say, 90s. I think especially in movies like one of the famous movies that I can remember is Jurassic Park, where the genome was altered in an augmented reality. And terms like augmented reality, virtual reality, now there's XR, which is a mix of augmented reality and virtual reality. So these terms are, of course, they've been born because of its utility. But I think the basic idea of metaverse or what is metaverse has always been there for some time. People have envisioned this, and me, honestly, I feel, and also I'd like to quote, the best way for me to give explanation about what metaverse is, this is what I do with my friends, with my family. When people ask me, what is this metaverse? Some people are scared about it. They think that they're going to have to drop their physical world, physical belongings to live in a virtual world. But metaverse actually is just an additional extension or an additional dimension to your physical world. And one of the famous people that I'd like to quote who gave me more clarity on this is Elon Musk, where he said, we are already in some sort of an additional dimension of our physical beings, which is, with our phones, with our laptops, especially when we are creating an image on social media, with Instagram, with Facebook. So we are already trying to build an additional dimension to our physical lives, but we just don't call it metaverse. But this process or transition has been happening over the years, actually. The only thing is that the nodes or the network for receiving and sending out information is so minute, because it has to happen on phone. If you went to a concert, you would have to go manually put it on your phone that, hey, I was at LA, or I was at this concert, Kanye West concert. But what happens with metaverse is that process has been amplified. So if you can actually virtually be at a concert, you could virtually be at another place, and those things are going to get updated real time. You could meet friends, families in real time. And that's just my basic overview of what metaverse is. And I honestly don't think that it can be something that we need to be worried about. I think it's inevitable, because it's not just an idea or a concept. It's something that's it's more than a technology. It's not something that people or governments can just put a crypto or a market ban, like cryptos. Like recently, it was Russia, China, Ukraine. We've all been hearing news where governments are looking at banning cryptos or putting a blanket ban on cryptos. But metaverse, especially the Web3 technology, is something that's inevitable, and it definitely is going to make our lives better. Now, what does Harmony, and also with Web3 also, I feel one of the best, and I'm sure everybody already has a fair idea of what Web3 is, and I'm sure our great speakers tonight also would have given you a fair idea of what this space is: blockchain, Web3, Web1. But just for the ones who are curious, I'd like to share my 2 cents on or my best understanding of and I would say this is my dumbed down understanding of Web1, Web2, Web3. I'm sure experts would not agree with me, or they would agree with me, but they would say that it's such a simplified version. But for me, I would say Web1 is, back in the 90s, where you had your HTML pages, and we were only consuming information. We were not really partaking in the production or the creation of content. Web2 obviously was an evolution of Web3, Web1, where you could also participate, you could also make content, and you could also consume content. But were we actually in control of what content goes out to the masses? We were not, and some of the best examples would be Twitter, Facebook, where content is actually is controlled. You could make whatever content you'd like, but the governing authority or entity is always has control. Now, Web3 is just an amplified version of Web2, or an evolved version of Web2, where we are consuming content, we are making content, but we are also partaking in the process, and we are controlling, which means there's no sort of a single entity holding control, which also gives us this idea of a decentralized web, and that's Web3. It's a decentralized web. Now, so that's about Web3. That's about metaverse. That's a little bit about also how gaming fits into this metaverse with NFTs and everything. I'd like to tell you about what Harmony does, or Harmony's vision in this space. I'm sure this is one of the summit. This is an event also co-sponsored by Harmony. So I'm sure you people know, but I'm going to tell you why Harmony is building something with Web3 in mind, and what was the reason for it. So my introduction about Harmony, if somebody had just less than 10 seconds and asked me to introduce Harmony, and this is something that you would see on all social platforms, is what is Harmony? People ask me, what is Harmony? Even last week when I was in some of these events, people used to ask me, what is Harmony? I keep hearing this, I keep hearing you guys, what does Harmony, how is it different from Polkadot? How is it different from Solana? And various other projects, which are great projects. So Harmony, and here's my 10-second introduction, or I would say less than 10-second, 5-second introduction of Harmony. Harmony is an open and fast blockchain that runs Ethereum applications with 2-second transaction finality and 1,000 times lower fees. Now, the last 2 bit, which is 2-second transaction finality and the lower fees, that's what's most important, and that's the most important element of that introduction. That why is this so important? Now, why is this important is for the ones who've been curious about this space, and for the ones who have been in this space, you would know that one of the most important documents in this technology or in this space was penned by Satoshi, which is still unclear if it was a person or a group. But Satoshi penned this white paper, the Bitcoin white paper. And on this Bitcoin white paper, he addressed the blockchain trilemma, which was security, scalability, and decentralization. Now, over the course of years, of course, many great projects, many great people have tried to achieve these 3 elements in a blockchain, which is security, scalability, and decentralization. And none of them can be sacrificed. And one of the most famous projects that I can think of that has come close to achieving this is, of course, Ethereum, Polygon, and some great projects like this. But this is where Harmony comes in. And this is Harmony's vision. So if you go back and read Harmony's white paper, we never want to be a monopoly, or we don't want to say that we are the only chain. We in fact envision a future where we are a cross chain, we are working with different multiple chains. And what we believe, and what time has showed us also, is that to achieve these 3 things in equal proportions, it's almost close to impossible, at least for now, with the technology that we have. And the best way to go about it is there are some chains that can be extremely fast. There can be some chains that can be extremely secure, and then there are some chains that can be extremely decentralized. Now, a famous example could be with Ethereum also. Now, Ethereum, of course, everybody knows that Ethereum has the most amount of users, but that's a double-sided sword, because with so many users, what is happening with Ethereum is that it's causing network congestion. With network congestion, the speeds are slower, the fees are higher. And this is why what Harmony is trying to build is so important for this space. It's not just for Harmony users, but for this space. Even what Polygon is building is trying to tackle the scalability issues, and with Harmony, because I'm from Harmony, I'm going to speak about Harmony, is that our vision also to tackle the scalability issue is, of course, by providing ultra fast transactions and at super cheap prices. And for people who are curious about Harmony, I would really urge you to go just do a couple of transactions on Harmony, or try to do a couple of transactions on Ethereum, and you will realize the difference, not just in terms of the transaction speed, but you will also see some differences in the price, especially with Ethereum. I always say this with my friends, that if I had to do a transaction, I love Ethereum, and Harmony love Ethereum too. And we are an EVM-based chain, but unfortunately, the scalability issues need to be tackled. And I even joke this with my friends when I say that sometimes on Ethereum or on MetaMask, when I have to do a transaction worth $50, I end up paying a network fees of $150 or $250 on bad days. So, which sounds ridiculous. And this is where Harmony comes in. How does Harmony achieve this? of course, with some of the technologies that Ethereum and Vitalik has promised for the coming years, which is sharding. One of them is sharding. Sharding is basically you're breaking down blocks into mini blockchains, or in a simpler way, I can say that you're breaking bigger data sets into smaller data sets or chunks, and those data sets are going to get validated by our nodes, and it's going to join the block or the blockchain. So of course, that's I'm not doing full justice to the term sharding, and I would urge everybody to do their research on what sharding is. But sharding is one of those technological things that can aid to the scalability issue, and this is also something that Ethereum is going for. So just to tell you more about how Harmony does that also is now every blockchain has nodes or validators to validate transactions. In Harmony, however, nodes function on different networks. So by incorporating nodes of other networks into their own network, we achieve interoperability. And interoperability is also a huge word for Harmony because, we are always trying to bridge between two chains. Like I mentioned, that we envision a future where we're in a cross-chain world or a multi-chain world. So other network nodes are not making copies of data from one blockchain to Harmony, but instead they verify transactions at a much lower fees, and it relays the data back to Harmony, which then turns into a commit, then verify architecture of validation. So those, I don't want to go too much into the technicality of it, but one of the things that I can tell you is, since we are also speaking about gaming and we are in a gaming meetup, I do want to, I'm sure, I'd like to keep this conversation interactive, but I know that with this being a video call, I think it can be difficult to keep it interactive. But I'm sure you've all heard of DeFi Kingdoms. Now, DeFi Kingdom is the biggest project on the Harmony chain. We are proud that it was natively built on Harmony. So we were the first chain that they launched on, and it's not just the biggest project on Harmony, but it's also the biggest project in the GameFi space. It just recently surpassed Axie Infinity, and DeFi Kingdom brings in about 1 billion in total value locked on the Harmony chain. Now, this is a huge game changer for us. Why is this a game changer? Also is because this is not something that Harmony advocates, but this is my belief and my thesis is that every year there is, at least if you go back from 2020, every year there has been one vertical in this Web3 space that's always trending. If you look at the 2090s was the year of ICOs. 2020 was the year of DeFi, DeFi DEXs, decentralized finance. 2021 was the year of NFTs. Last year, everyone was all about NFTs with the Bored Ape clubs. And I believe, and this is my belief, I could be wrong, that this year, 2022, is the year of game and GameFi. Play to earn, play and earn, and gaming in general is still, even if you look at traditional gaming on Web 2.0, it still covers a huge area or huge population of people using the internet. So basically, my thesis is that even in the traditional Web 2 space, there are so many users in this gaming space, and I don't see why it should not transition into Web 3, which is also my prediction why gaming is going to be the largest or the most trending sector this year.
Abhishek, can I interrupt you there? I think you're going to find everybody in the room agrees with you on that last point. We're all that's why we're all here. We all agree that absolutely this is the year for it. I know everybody's interested to get to the pizza, so I want to move this along. Let's have some questions. Can I start off by asking, you're speaking to game developers live tonight now in Kenya, in Tunisia, in Morocco, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon. You got the whole audience here. You're speaking to Africa. There's a lot of projects, or not a lot of projects, but there are some projects that are really strongly focused on Africa. We've seen Cardano really come out strongly in favor of the Africa ecosystem. Sela absolutely is doing UBI payments on the blockchain here in Africa? Harmony for their projects. What's right about Harmony for Africa, and why is Harmony interested in doing the Harmony Africa DAO and supporting events like this?
Well, like I mentioned, for us, even for our vision for Africa was that we definitely see Africa as a very strong market. We all know, I think the whole world knows what's the potential of Africa, and especially with the demographics, what Africa can only bring to the table if it's awake and if it's well supported. So Harmony like any organization or any organization, of course, sees the potential in Africa, in the developer space, in the user space, investor space, and the retail space. How does Harmony want to support this is, like I said, this is laid down in our fundamentals, because we are such a cheap chain. When I say cheap, it is so easy for people to build, because imagine if a project is building on an expensive chain. They may have the funds to build the project, but where are they going to get the users from? The users are not going to pay transaction fees. And this is why I say this is how Harmony fits into this, fits the plug between gaming, Africa, and this whole development of the space, is because we are such an inexpensive chain and a fast chain that the onboarding of users is so incredibly easy. How do we support this? Is, of course, we've got specific developer teams that can help projects that want to build in the gaming space, and this is how we support it.
Fantastic, good answer. And obviously DeFi Kingdom, as you said, being one of the largest games in the world, and the fact that it's on Harmony, I think speaks volumes for sure. Let's go to Tim. Tim, you want to ask a question from the chat room?
I've got one in here from Lena. I don't know if it's 100% applicable to you, Abhi, but it was asking about the network being down and when can they start doing transactions again?
Sure. Well, it's fine, because I mean, we do get these questions, and I think with any blockchain, because we're holding so many users, so many applications, we are susceptible to those kind of issues, technological issues. But what I can tell you is that this has already been resolved, and I'm sure for the users who've been using Harmony recently in the last 2 days or in the last 48 hours can notice the difference. So of course, because of sharding and because of the nodes catching up with the other nodes, which is technical in nature. I don't have a technical background. I won't be able to tell you what exactly we resolved to make the transactions catch up to the speeds that we promise users. But I can tell you with confidence that this has been resolved. And how do we resolve it is that we don't just rely on our own RPCs, but we also rely on outsourced RPCs, one of them being Pocket Network. And with these outsourced or external RPCs, it gives just an additional boost to the Harmony network, making it more secure and obviously making it more faster.
So Abhishek, I think one thing that everybody in the room is probably really interested in is the grants. Can you tell us about the grant program and how people can participate in that?
Sure. So we have a very, very clear mandate on the grant program, and I will actually look at my page, but I think I know it by heart, is that Harmony, for any project that is already building on another chain, Harmony supports them with the port, which means that they're already on, for example, BSC chain, on an Ethereum chain, and you just have to change the chain ID if it's EVM compatible, and you bring it on Harmony. So the grant system for these ports, or even for launches, which means when I say launch, it's projects that are natively built on the Harmony chain. We always start out with a 50K grant. So the 50K is the beginning, but the grants can go up to 250K, can go up to even $1 million. We recently co-invested in Defy Kingdom with a 1 million funding. So the grants are never capped, but the minimum is always, it starts with 50K. And even the 50K is paid out in 5 different tranches. The first one being you need to launch a testnet ready product. So if there are projects building a game, your game needs to be, the prototype needs to be launched on the Harmony testnet. Of course, for fair reasons, to make some small tweaks to see if everything's in accordance with our blockchain. So that's the first grant, and that's 10K. The next thing you would have to do is you would have to form a DAO. Harmony is really big on DAO, and DAOs, again, is another topic by itself, and I think we are restricted by time. but and yeah, so the second milestone or the second objective is to form a multi-sig with 5 governors of minimum 5 governors, and that's when you form a multi-sig, which means there's one centralized controlling wallet where the 5 governors can vote based on how the funds are released. So that's the second one. The third one is, of course, you need to launch now on the mainnet. And when you launch on mainnet is when you get your third objective or milestone, and that's your third 10K paid out. And the fourth one is to have 1K active users. And the fifth one is to have 1K active users on all socials, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, etc. So obviously these grants are paid out in different tranches, but they are just a foolproof mechanism for us to weed out the bad projects. But in all reality, we've seen projects achieve these 4 or 5 milestones in a matter of 3-4 days. So for any project that, and I'm not saying projects that are already building on another chain because they come with experience, but even for native projects, because Harmony is always going to help you with getting you introduced to our community through AMAs, through co-marketing objectives, efforts. So onboarding users and getting your active users is never going to be a challenge for a project, because with Harmony itself, we have about close to 500,000 users with over 1 billion locked in TVL. So onboarding users should never be a challenge. But I think the most important aspect for projects that are building is to just stick to your vision and make sure, even if it takes time, just go towards achieving that vision that you've seen. And Harmony is always going to support you with that.
And where can people find out about the grants and apply?
I would urge everybody to go check out open.harmony.one. Now that's the main page, or we call it the open page, which is open.harmony.one. And under open.harmony.one is where you would have all the information about the grants, about about our plans for the GameFi space, because we are at an event around gaming, and in different ways of how you can contribute to the Harmony ecosystem. You could contribute as a contributor. You could join as you can fix bounties for developers. We have a bounty reward program. You could also, if you want to do some collaboration with projects that are already building on Harmony, or if you want to find projects, what are the projects that are on the Harmony chain? All that information is on open.harmony.one, and I urge everybody to go check that out. And that would be a great point of start for everybody who's curious about Harmony or who needs more information. There's no information that is. One of Harmony's vision is to keep everything very transparent and decentralized, and that's the reason we follow this process of keeping everything open. So you would also notice on the open.harmony.one, the page that I'm talking about, you would also see what team members do, what are the different expertise of different team members, what are the teams they are working on, what are some of the plans we have for the next quarter. So everything is on that page, and that's the best place that I can guide people to.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Abhishek, for so much great information. It is 9 p.m. here. I can tell people are getting hungry. So I'm going to say thank you. It's a lot of great information. We are thrilled to have Harmony as a sponsor. Thanks for coming out tonight and for answering these questions for us. And we will continue the conversation. So thanks for coming out. Big round of applause.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right.
So just one second.
No, we're going to move on. We're going to move on, because it's 9 o'clock and we're going for dinner time. I invite all the questions. We can have conversations as we go upstairs. There'll be experts around, and some of the experts who are on tonight will be available for more questions as we go on. So I want to say thank you to all of you guys for joining us tonight, both here as well as those of you who are joining us online in the other remote centers. In Tunisia, in Cote d'Ivoire, in Cameroon, in Ghana, in Morocco, all the places around Africa. as a continent, we have to work together as a community. We will build this industry together, and that's the only way we're going to succeed, and I'm convinced that we will. So thank you guys for coming out to the Nairobi Game Development Center. This is what we are all about, is about learning and community. We're doing more and more events like this, so thank you for participating. I'm going to invite everybody now to go upstairs. We have dinner for you and drinks, and let's continue the conversation and continue the learning, and do come out next time for the next event. Speaking of which, this Friday night is the Global Game Jam happening all weekend, a hackathon, and we are the host for the Nairobi. So if you're interested in doing that, go online, Global Game Jam, and register for the Nairobi event. Okay, so thank you again, guys, and thank you, Mary, for co-hosting.
Thank you so much
really
for hosting us also.
Yeah.
And you guys, please follow us on our social media pages. On Telegram is Harmony Africa DAO, okay? And on Twitter, it's One Africa DAO. So please feel free. We'll still continue this conversation on this social media. So yeah, thank you so much.
And also I want to thank Tim for facilitating for us on the chat room remotely. I know time zones are a challenge. Thank you, Tim. And thank you, Walid, for organizing all the groups in Tunisia. So amazing to have everybody involved. And thank you, everybody. Have a great night, and let's go upstairs and go eat. All right?